Hi, my name is Hannah Orgoglioso, and I will be doing my project on Gisele Freund. She lived from 1908 to 2001. She was a Jewish woman, a socialist activist, and a photographer. She's really well known for photographing famous artists and writers in unique ways, including the president of France in 1981. She was born in Germany, and she has written a book that this is her most popular. It's called Photographie et Société, which is about the abuses of photography in the new age of technology. She did go to college. I believe she studied sociology and art history. And she unfortunately had to leave Germany in 1933 when Hitler rose to power because, as a Jewish woman and a socialist activist, she feared persecution. She then photographed a lot of famous people, really brought people into their world in a way that that the public kind of had never really seen before. And then she did move to Mexico for a little bit. She thought she was only going to stay for 2 weeks and then ended up making friends with artists and writers, photographing them and staying for a little bit. And then she died in Paris. She used the Leica camera, which was able to have one roll of film with 36 frames for her photographs. And then her early experimentation with Kodachrome and 35 millimeter film was another aspect of her photography that gave her a very kind of specific look to her photographs, certain graininess and certain colors. And you will definitely see kind of the progression of her style and her work as time goes on and as technology gets better, which is really interesting. And it has distinguished her in the 20th century as one of the most prolific photographers, especially in terms of documentary and portrait photography. This is one of her first photographs taken when she was 24 of anti-fascist activists. She became really involved in anti-fascism and socialist activism when she was in university. And then with this, she had taken out the original negative and printed a selection on Barrett paper. And then this whole series, I don't believe, was seen until 1995. So this is before she was well known. This is part of the set that gained her notoriety. They were taken in 1936 and they're called Northern England, and they ended up being published. They're a set of photos depicting the effects of the Great Depression. And this is really where she got her start. Again, black and white photographs. They centered on kind of women and children and economic hardship. And from here, she was already out of Germany. But here is really where her portrait photography begins to really develop. This is one of her most famous of James Joyce in 1939. She really wanted to connect with people before photographing them, and Joyce was notoriously difficult to photograph, but I believe it was this one that ended up in Time magazine. She had kind of 3 sessions with him, and he was like pretty stubborn, but she ended up cracking him, which was pretty cool. So this is her photograph of Virginia Woolf, kind of a similar style. She focused a lot on facial expressions, on posing, and on hands in her portraits, which you'll see a little bit. She went to Mexico for a bit, and she became friends with Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. And this is taken in 1951, which is towards the end of Frida Kahlo's life. She died pretty young because of health complications. I thought this one particularly was really striking, even though there are a bunch. I really like the use of lighting, the composition, the way that her hands and her facial expression are, again, is really, really prominent. This one I find really, really beautiful, and it kind of brings you into Frida Kahlo's world towards the end of her life. This is of Henry Matisse. This is, I think, my favorite because I really like the use of the colors in the background of his painting and then also using the same colors in his outfit and in the foreground. And he looks so stern, or kind of looks like he knows something. And it kind of like brings you into his world, which is what she was really well known for. So this is my favorite. This is her famous self-portrait. It was taken in Mexico City, Mexico in 1950. And I kind of wanted to close off with a quote from her, which really sums up her philosophy about photography. She says, the lens, the so-called impartial eye, actually permits every possible distortion of reality. The character of the image is determined by the photographer's point of view and the demands of his patrons. The importance of photography does not rest primarily in its potential as an art form, but rather in its ability to shape our ideas, to influence our behavior, and to define our society. So she was someone that was really able to bring you into the world of people the way that kind of no one had ever really seen before, in a really unique way. I love this self-portrait of her that she took, like a picture of a picture, which is kind of cool. But yeah, and then in terms of evaluating her photographs, a lot of them were mainly descriptive. Like they're not really interpretive. She's kind of just photographing things as they are and just in a specific aesthetic way. So I believe that most of her photographs are descriptive and aesthetically evaluative, as opposed to the other four categories. And that is it. Here is my works cited. Thank you.